Again, this time we're going to talk about Qubic price action. So here is the chart. And some people see this and say, oh my God, it's just going to go down and down and down. And, maybe you bought it here and you're down, I don't know, 40%. So yeah, I feel you. I'm also down a little bit from my average buy price. I'm not going to lie. I'm not down that much. I'm maybe down 10%. But anyway, so some people see this and they say, oh my God, this is a disaster. So as you see up here, this was our all-time high, and we're down the current price with respect to the all-time high. So this was the all-time high, and we're here. That's minus 86%. So maybe some of you are down minus 80%, minus 70%. I feel you. It's tough. All right. We're also up 24% from our all-time low. So maybe some of you lucky guys are up from your average buy price. And if you do the calculations from here all the way up to here, that's a 7.4x from here. So, if you invest 1,000 and it goes all the way up here, you've got 7.3 thousand. But yeah, anyway, the graph, it doesn't look great, but I'd like to point out that this is a higher high. So we've reached a high point here that we hadn't reached in many, many months. That's kind of an encouraging thing to have a new higher high. It also looks to me like we've bottomed out. Oh, I should have added that in the slides. We've also got, if you look at the order book, at about 0.15 USD, we have some massive amounts of orders. So it's not going to go, I don't think it's going to reach 0.15, 0.00000015. It's just not going to. But if it does, there's a massive amount of buying down there. So we've bottomed out, I'm pretty sure. None of this is financial advice, but I'm not expecting any drops from here, any significant drops. Like it'll do a minus 10%, plus 10% up and down. But the next slide is all about don't get distracted by the small time frame. So like say you bought here, like it started pumping, it came up on your exchange as like the highest profit maker for the day, and you're like, oh, I've got to get in on this Qubic thing. You bought it up here, and from here to here, you've lost 35%. That's like, wow, they're losing 35% is a lot. But then again, look at the big picture. Like you're looking at this little thing here, and that's not very big. And so, if you haven't seen many other crypto projects, graphs like this could be a bit worrying. But let's compare this to some other. Oh yeah, and if you look online, people are calling it a shit coin, a pump and dump coin, a fraud. Let's look at some other projects people were probably talking in similar ways about, like Bitcoin. Let's say we're in May 2015. Like it had recently done a minus 85% from its all-time high. Bear in mind, we've done a minus 86% from our all-time high. And so, yeah, probably people were talking about Bitcoin as a shitcoin, pump and dump. Well, probably not pump and dump because the term probably wasn't coined yet, as this was like the beginning of crypto. But in any case, they were probably talking about it as a project for nerds, destined to go nowhere. You're going to lose your money if you invest it. You should sell now. I'm sure a ton of people sold Bitcoin at $200. It's like at 61K, 62K now. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people sold here, and I'm sure they had their reasons to do it. I'm sure people convinced them it was a terrible idea. I'm sure, their mother said, oh, you could buy a house with that money, and whatever. So this was from January 2014 to May 2015. It dropped 85%. And you know what? Whether you bought it at 1K or whether you bought it at $200, like it was a good buy, okay? So yeah, I'm sure if you bought it at 1K in January and you were down 85% on your investment in May, right, I'm sure you were feeling it, all right? But how did it end up? It ended up pretty well. All right, let's go forward a few years, yeah. And in January 18, it had a new all-time high. Notice they were in January, and notice that January's coming up. That could be a good sign. That said, I don't know how much history repeats itself. Crypto's not all that old, so who knows? But end of the year, beginning of the new year, it could be that good things are coming. Not that I know. Anyway, so let's say January 2018, you bought at 20K, and then a few months later, you are at 2.5K. Well, maybe 2.8K. That's a big drop. That's 83%. So you lost 83%. That said, like if I had a time machine, I would go back in time and I would buy it at this 20K, you know? So yeah, it's just and we have more Bitcoin coming. This is again the more recent drop. This was a minus 77% drop from November, I think around November 21, end of 21 and beginning of 2022. From then till a year afterwards, basically, it dropped 77% in a year. So think about it. Maybe you bought at 60K and you watched it drop and drop and drop and drop and drop for a full year. For a full year, you've got to have the nerves of steel to hold it, hold on. Like you've got to really look into the project, look into the fundamentals. No, this is a good thing to hold. I'm going to hold and just hold. And yeah, this was 60 something K, and we're back at those ranges now. So if you panic sold here, you would have lost a bit. If you panic sold here, that would have been the worst decision. In any case, just to say that drops of 80% are not unheard of in the crypto world. And yeah, like, so I'm happy I bought. I I I should have mentioned what my average buy price is. I think I'm about 10% down with compared to my average buy price. I'm happy with it. Cause you could say, yeah, wait, but wait for when? When if this little thing happens here, then it could. Who knows when the prices will hike? Who knows? Maybe it will drop another 20%. I don't know, but I'm holding and I'm happy. That said, this is not financial advice, right? Just saying not to panic and not to like zoom in here and analyze the hourly chart and see what the hell's happening and think you can what's it called? Infer something. Think you can infer something from the hourly chart. Like look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. I think that 7.4x is nothing. I think we've got a lot of big news coming up. Tier 1 exchanges coming up. We've got the Agarth paper coming up before the end of the year. The game, what's it called? My Last Match game coming up. The Qubic AI chatbot coming up. Lots of stuff coming up before the end of the year. And I think with a chart like this, which has recently had a new higher high compared to the recent months, it's looking bottomed out to me. I think that if you've held so far, you might as well hold. If you're new to the project, look into the project. There's lots of stuff. You've got to know your stuff because that way, when there is a price drop, you'll hold. Like a few days ago, it did a maybe minus 15% in one day. It picks it back up the next day, but if you're solidly grounded in your convictions, you're really no emotion with a 15% price drop. If you're kind of not convinced on the project, then you might panic sell. So just look into the project before you make an investment. You've got some time to look into it. Don't make a rush decision to buy now. Like, think about it, look at it, and yeah, that's what all I suggest. Oh, we've got some more interesting. So in case Bitcoin wasn't a good enough example for you, Ethereum, check this out. From like January, February, it had an all-time high, and within a year, it was down 94%. So yeah, these big drops are not unheard of. That said, if I could buy Ethereum at, I don't know, $750, I would, So I wish I had a time machine. I haven't been in the crypto scene for too long, or even haven't had the money to invest so far. So now I've got some money to invest, and I diversify a little bit. It's not the only project I hold, but it's my main one. It's the one I have the most convictions on. It is slightly higher risk than some other projects because it's new and you don't know what'll happen. But at the same time, I think the rewards are possibly massive. So yeah, that's what I just all this was about is comparing Qubic price action compared to other big projects, and letting you know that it's not unheard of to have such a big price drop from all-time high. And in fact, look at these graphs. This looks a lot like the if like if you had told me it was the Qubic chart, I would have believed you. You know, they're identical. Look at this chart. This looks like the current Qubic chart. Look at even this recent all-time high, this recent higher high compared to the older higher high. So this more recent higher high compared to the preceding few months. It looks exactly like the Qubic price chart. And man, was this a good time to buy Bitcoin. So I'm getting them confused. So as the Qubic chart looks just like this, like I'm holding mine. I don't know how to say. Like if you want to do a little bit of like, you know, when it does a plus 15%, sell a little bit, buy a little bit. If you want to do the trading thing, by all means go for it. But I think it's a project to hold on long term and be convinced of your purchase so you don't get influenced by these, you know, short-term fluctuations. I have, yeah, so this is the sort of short-term fluctuations. You see, like it'll go down 35%, it'll then go back up. So right now we're a little low compared to where we were before, but this was the more recent higher high. So like it's up and down basically. I don't even look at this. This is just like noise. It's not worth getting emotional about. I'm actually higher because I set your limit orders. Like if you want, set limit orders at 5%, 10% below the current price, and hopefully it'll hit that. It's a bit risky because if it spikes, then you miss it because you didn't buy because you set your limit orders. Judge your risk the way you want, but I think it's a case of periodically buying and holding for long term, then strategizing if you want to try and get a lower price by waiting for the dips. That's up to you. Personally, I have my Bit2Me account set to invest a certain amount each day. It's very easy to do. On other cryptos where I can use bigger exchanges like Binance, I use the API and set buy orders algorithmically, and I have a ton of buy orders at certain prices, and I change them on. I have an algorithm that deals with these things, but it's a bit of a hassle to deal with the APIs on the smaller exchanges, I find. So I'm easy. I just literally every day I buy a certain amount of Qubic. That said, that's what I do. You should do you, and whatever floats your boat. I am not a financial advisor. I am not giving financial advice. I'm just telling you what I do, and I'm quite happy with it. And yeah, if tomorrow it drops, I don't think it will, but if it drops 30% in the next week, I'm not so worried. If it goes up 35%, I'm kind of sad because it just means that my buy orders buy me less Qubic. So I'm sure that at some point one of those big news will come out, whether it's the Agarth paper, whether it's the white paper that still has to be released, whether the game that is coming out is super cool. I don't know what will happen. There's loads of stuff in the Qubic realm that's happening, but something will happen, the price will shoot up, and then, the amount I've bought is the amount I've bought, and that's that. And so the more I manage to buy before this happens, the happier I am, because I'm convinced that the project will do well. And so that's me, I'm happy the way it is. Yeah, so it's good to compare Qubic to other projects, like these graphs. This is Qubic not compared to the dollar. You'll see here it's not in US dollars, but in Bitcoin. And you see like we're doing well. It's just tracking Bitcoin basically. There's a huge amount of correlation. So when Bitcoin goes up, Qubic goes up. When Bitcoin goes down, Qubic goes down. But it's not like dropping compared to Bitcoin. It's kind of holding its value compared to Bitcoin. So basically Bitcoin, as far as this chart goes, isn't a better investment compared to Qubic. And Bitcoin, like, all right, in this bull run, what will it do? Maximum 2x, maximum 3x. Qubic could maximum 1000x. So, I don't see it as a much riskier to invest in Qubic compared to Bitcoin, and I see the rewards a lot higher. I also invest in Bitcoin. I also invest in a few other projects, but I think the risk-reward ratio is quite favorable for Qubic, and so a large percentage of my crypto wallet is in Qubic. Yeah, where to buy it? As I said, I'm not. I like to trade with APIs. MEXC is supposed to have a super good API. I'll probably look into that. For now, I use Bit2Me and I'm quite happy with it. Link in the description if you want. I really don't. I can't say much about the exchanges. I just use Bit2Me, but I haven't looked into all of them. I am thinking about switching to MEXC just because their API seems to be pretty good. They have a good Python API, so I'm looking forward to using the MEXC exchange. But for now, I use Bit2Me and I'm super happy. And yeah, follow these accounts. They're great. He's the founder, CFB, come from beyond. Founded NXT and IOTA, the crypto projects with the highest return of all time. So, promising. I'm expecting high returns. And this guy's Qubic intern, he's also great. Gives a sort of preview what's about to come up, and he's pretty funny. And yeah, this is myself, mostly for Italians, but follow me if you want. And Telegram, follow Qubic on Telegram and follow me on Telegram as well if you want. I'm Qubic Italia. And so yeah, go for it. Guys, have a great one. Drop any questions in the comment, like and subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Talk soon. Bye bye.